place, Cici's Pizzeria located off Atascocita Road. The year, 1998. The occasion, my baseball team just lost and we're drowning our sorrows in doughy, I'm probably gonna shit my pants goodness. I decided to take a break from my 20th slice to retreat to the Cici's arcade, and who should I find but my fellow loser teammates already crowding a new machine. We couldn't keep our grubby little mitts off this thing. For hours, we'd all just have to take turns trying to beat this monster and fight each other until inevitably the idea popped into my chubby little head. Hey, let's badger Mom until she buys me this son of a bitch. And why don't you go ahead and take a guess at who said son of a bitch is? That's right, you got it. It's that fucking Aerosmith game, yeah! Dude looks like a baby! There's a couple things I want to make crystal clear before getting into the video. First, I absolutely fucking suck at fighting games. I don't know what it is. My reaction time exists in slow motion, but I'm fucking blind. Who knows? Bottom line is I'm a poopy, which perfectly leads into my second point. I'm a pretty non-competitive person, so fighting games just didn't appeal to me. I wasn't turned away by the challenge. I've just always been drawn to more story-driven RPG experiences. I mean, I do enjoy watching people play fighting games, especially since now they've integrated some of those elements into their formula. And of course, I'll always pick up a controller and play against my friends if the occasion arises, but they were just never my bread and butter. So just understand that the perspective I'm speaking from is one detached from the fighting game community. And I'm not taking a jab at the fighting game community. I think it's great, so no beef. In October of 1993, a game would emerge that would not only bring the fighting game genre into the third dimension, but serve as a foundation that all other fighting games would build on. Yeah, that one. It was the handiwork of Sega's AM2 studio, namely by a man whose ambition knew no bounds, who I promise I'll talk about in much more depth one day, just not now, sorry. Looking at Virtua Fighter today, I'll agree that it is hard to contextualize how influential it was. It isn't just that it brought 3D fighting into the mainstream. Sony's officially gone on record and stated that Virtua Fighter was a spark that would inspire them to create the coveted PlayStation console. Now admittedly, there were a ton of goofy 3D fighters on the PS1, or X, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Most prominently, an obscure little title you may or may not have heard of, called Tekken. The director's mantle would be donned by former Virtua Fighter designer Seiichi Ishii, and Tekken functions almost identical to its progenitor. It improved on that formula by enhancing the frame rate, adding detailed textures, somewhat detailed, and those crispy little FMVs. Oh shit, oh gee, this is a fucking fever dream. Okay, I'm good now, stop. What's happening? Stop! But boom, the game was a hit. It was the first PS1 title to sell 1 million copies, and it did especially well in the US. So good job, bud. This game didn't really resonate with me specifically because I didn't play it at the time of release. I was 2. But that second one? Oh, I played that bad boy. Tekken 2 was the most successful arcade of 1995 and the best game on the moon. And hey, the FMVs are pretty good, at least not a fucking nightmare. Okay, please stop. But you know what? It's Tekken 3 Nation, baby! To this day, it remains the best-selling title of the series, as well as one of the best-selling fighting games, period, at 8.36 million units sold. If Tekken 2 tweaked elements of the first, Tekken 3 would solidify itself as the quintessential Tekken title, completely polishing elements that already made the series such a standout. This is where it would really grow into its own skin and start to get a little wacky. Now, I'm not going to speak too in-depth regarding the gaming mechanics for reasons I've already stated, but at the time, Tekken 3 just felt better than any other fighter out there. The first two, while innovative in their own right, still retained that early 90s 3D stiffness. The first game especially, and yeah, I'm not going to keep ragging on this one. The third game, however, would be the first true 3D fighting game in the series with the introduction of the sidestep. I guess, yeah, technically Battle Arena Toshinden accomplished this a year or two before, but that game is, how you say... Fuck that. You could sprint from all the way across the screen and bum rush or even tackle, ground and pound your opponent. Because of the game's physics, differing sizes and weight, certain characters will be affected in varying ways. Attacks that would completely launch a character like, say, Nina, could just slightly lift Jack off the ground for a moment or two. Just said jack off. Throws make for nice little animations, and special or finishing moves can shave a good chunk of your health off. But since they're extremely telegraphed and take a while to load up, they can be difficult to time correctly. But when you pull it off, it feels pretty damn good. I think part of the reason I didn't have such a hard time picking this game up was due to its general flow of combat, and the detailed animations for every move left room to adjust a little quicker, for me at least. As far as the character designs, the series has always benefited from twisting modern Japanese fashion trends with a style that I can only describe as eccentric yet grounded. And it can get pretty fucking weird. On one end of the spectrum, you have Yoshimitsu, who should feel completely alien and off in this universe, and on the other end, you have Dr. Boskanovich, who is a doctor guy. Fighting games tend to design outfits that reflect the fighting style and the culture they originate from, and that's still somewhat present here too. Returning fighters retain their original outfits, while others inherit takes based off relatives from previous titles. However, the alternate outfits present them in varying leisurely attire that suggests a life separate from the tournament. I just think it's a subtle way to round off characters in the game, that they're not just people who fight 24 hours a day. You can even unlock new costumes for certain characters simply by just playing the game with them, and a lot of this wouldn't be as impactful if not for the graphical jump from its predecessors. I mean, just look at it, they don't look like they're made of fucking sausage links or built like
big tits, little feet, hitting any man's league.
You get it. As far as the fighting styles, the first and second didn't really do too much to diversify the way they looked. Yet for 3 on, you could just show me silhouettes of each fighter and I could pinpoint to whom it belongs. The animation for these moves too show a deep understanding of actual combat. Some of these body hooks and combos reflect that of actual combos you'd see in Taekwondo, Muay Thai, or kickboxing in general. Mostly. And while we're on that point, characters that are related to past fighters like Jin, Julia, or Hwoarang all adopt moves of their previous counterparts while having their own personal variations. And like, it's just cool how Jin's moveset consists of combos belonging to Jun, Kazuya, and Heihachi respectively. No matter how goofy this fucking game gets, underneath the anime hair and glamorous attire, Tekken treats the combatants with a sort of stoicism that helps elevate just how stark and unforgiving its universe can be. I'd even argue this aids in how insane and goofy it is sometimes. You'd think this constant shift from grounded to silly to insane to somber would cause complete tonal whiplash, but that weird ass phenomenon has become Tekken's trademark. And I can't even believe I haven't mentioned the soundtrack. 2 words. It fucking rocks. It's a blend of 90s Euro house and techno and blah 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 blah. I don't know what it is, but it fucking rocks. I've been playing it this whole time too, so you decide. Tekken 3 implements a simple system to incentivize the player to replay the game, and it did this by way of unlocking new playable characters and slowly feeding you pieces to its story. Normally in a fighter, the characters you start with are the characters you're stuck with. In rare cases like Street Fighter II Turbo, you were able to unlock a super secret angry guy by inputting an intuitive and not at all specific code that in the year 1994 was incredible easy information to access as a 2-year-old baby. And this is just how it went. A lot of these secret baby boys hidden behind these obscure time-sensitive codes because it wasn't really an important feature of the games. Tekken, however, completely centralizes unlocking these characters as a purpose of the game. You beat arcade mode with whoever you feel most comfortable playing with, and you're treated with a nice little cutscene and you think to yourself, hey, that's cool, let me try that again with somebody else, and what the fuck? A bear? And that's simple, right? This encourages you to get better with the other fighters because you're not just gonna miss out on all those cutscenes and miss out unlocking all the other characters. Oh, I beat the arcade mode with everybody, huh? Let me experiment with Tekken Force. Cool, beat that, now I got Doctor. What the hell is this? What, I unlocked a ball? Ball? A dinosaur? My boy burping. And then his cutscene was this endless limbo that I would not shut off because I believe deep down in my heart that at some point something's gonna happen. It has to. You're fucking lying if you didn't do this too. And I want to focus a bit on the story of Tekken. Heihachi is a power-hungry maniac and throws 5-year-old Kazuya, his son, down a ravine because he thinks he's too weak to inherit his Mishima conglomerate. I know this is retconned later on, but for now that doesn't matter. Should Kazuya live, then hey, maybe Dad is wrong. Turns out Dad is dead wrong. Wrong like, I climbed up the mountain and it's your turn for the mountain ride and your money is mine now, bye bye. Oh, he's happy. Kazuya's first experience in the ravine awakens something evil in him, a devil of sorts. And now he too has become power crazed and irreversibly fractured. Too bad Dad's not too bad of a climber himself. And bing bang boom, say hello to the volcano for me, will ya? At some undisclosed moment, Kazuya came in contact with Jun Kazuma, and by some luck of the draw, Jin was born of that uncharacteristic love affair. So now it's been roughly 2 decades. Heihachi is back in charge of the Mishima Zaibatsu, and Jun lives on in peace with Jin. During excavation in Mexico, Heihachi's peoples are killed, and one survivor muttering only, "Ogre." Soon enough, Heihachi himself feasts his eyes on Mr. Ogre, and decides, If I get his power, the world is mine, baby. Ogre goes on a killing spree, and among his victims is one Jun Kazama. Also, the devil that was inside Kazuya left his body when Polly Walnuts decided to throw him in the volcano. And after June Diggity died, the devil attached itself to Jin. But not like it did with Kazuya, because Angel attached itself to him too, because Angel's part of... What? Stop. Lusting for vengeance, Jin convinces Heihachi to train him to become strong enough to kill this big green bastard. And Grandpa agrees, secretly planning to manipulate his grandson and his thirst for revenge in order to capture Ogre and inhale his ogre power fumes for himself. And as it all plays out, Jin defeats Ogre, well, the true Ogre. The original Ogre was defeated by Paul Phoenix, technically making him the winner of the tournament, but Ogre wasn't true, so then Jin... And it's not... As Jin defeats Ogre and he's fucking Dragon Balled out of there, he's straight up shot in the head by his own grandfather and fucking dies, only to be reawakened by the previously mentioned Devil Gene, giving him those sick fucking tap-out tats and flying off into the Mexican moon. I know I'm being all dumpy and stupid with this, but the whole progression of the Mishima narrative is so bleak. The most interesting part of the series is watching this familial Greek tragedy play out. And honestly, inserting Jin as the protagonist of Tekken 3 was the missing ingredient to this series. Up until this, Kazuya, Heihachi, they're deplorable and scheming, and while I love them, they don't make for the most likable protagonists. They're basically mad Tony Soprano with Vegeta hair. Jin is the heart and soul of Tekken, at least for now, because it gets all messy and he's bad too, but not bad, but is bad. But the real reason this game is so important to me is the same reason anything is. I got to experience it with my boys, picking our favorite fighters and taking turns to beat the game when the rest of us couldn't, the rest of us being me. It was always either Trayvon or Larry beating the game, and as all the cutscenes would roll, you kind of just have to piece together the story in whichever way made sense to you. There was no internet database where we could look up the lore, so what was canon and what wasn't didn't even matter. So part of the experience was arguing which of the ending cutscenes actually happened within that world. And I think at the end of it all, it just innovated so many simple things perfectly. And it's been almost 23 years later and these are still important factors of the game. And I'm not going to be that dork that says Tekken today isn't the Tekken of yesterday, because it kind of still is. But the third, for whatever reason, is always going to hold that special place in my heart. And the story, as wacky and inconsistent as it is, was something of a novelty at the time. So for all the good feelings I still have to this day, thank you, Tekken. See you later, baby.